Hey, glad you could be with us again this week. I hope you saw our last video last week all about my trip to Yakima Valley. If you didn't, make sure you check it out. I'll put a link at the end. Now, this week, we mentioned in the last video that I spent 4 days at the Yakima Chief Hops and Beer School. 4 full days, full immersion of hops and beer. Without further ado, folks, Max Raphael here from Hops World and Hops Brazil. Tip number 501. Yakima Chief Hops and Beer School 2023. Let's do it. Now, stay tuned to the end of the video because that's when I visited 3 different of the biggest, best, most beautiful hops farms in the world. So stay tuned till the end, folks. Bye. Well, you're still with me, so you must be interested. And you should be interested, folks, because this Hops and Beer School, if you want a way to get access to some of the biggest farms in Yakima Valley, Yakima Chief itself, all access to all of their cryo plants, their extract plant, their pelletizing plant, their picking plant, everything they do in hops and beer is right there. You're going to learn a lot if you're a grower, if you're a brewer especially. It's really mostly designed for brewers, but if you're just a beer or hops enthusiast, I highly recommend the Yakima Chief Hops and Beer School. Thanks for being with me this week, folks. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, support us, okay? It'll really help. But without further ado, let's get right into it. The Yakima Chief Hop and Beer School. Well, after getting picked up at our hotel in a big bus, we got dropped off at the Yakima Chief offices and storage facilities. Last time I was here, I always wondered what was in these big buildings. Well, we're going to find out. After check-in outside, I got my lanyard and my name tag, and I've arrived at Yakima Chief Hops. So once inside, we got in a short line, and we all got a little backpack with some swag and some merch, a couple hats, some stickers. And they had a real nice display of a lot of their products, some of their newer varieties and some of their newer advanced products, extracts, those kind of things. And of course they had a little pop-up shop with merch, and I took full advantage and bought plenty of stuff. And their display inside this huge, well, it's actually a cooler, folks, a huge freezer. It's in about a month going to be filled with bales and bales of hops. But right now, they have a real awesome display. The stage, the tables are all set up with fresh hops everywhere. I was pretty impressed by the setup. Well, after the opening ceremony, we got separated in groups and got dispersed across the parking lot to Hop Country. Well, this is the lab area of Yakima Chief, and boy, folks, what a lab. Wow, I've been to plenty of universities in Brazil, in the United States. I've been to private labs. I've never, ever seen a lab so thorough, so extensive, with such modern and so much equipment. Wow, it was impressive. I was really amazed at some of the things that I saw there and some of the things that I learned there. What an amazing lab. But what's a lab without being able to test the hops in a beer? Bam! 9 o'clock in the morning, having a beer straight from the barrel. And of course, I got to mix up a Max Brew, do some witchcraft, because we all know hops doesn't matter till it's in the brew. And we went to the actual tap room of Yakima Chief. And they had this huge chalkboard where everybody signs in over the years. And look who was there. Ba-bam! Hops Brazil in the house. Who else was there? Ba-bam! Hops World on YouTube. And then we learned about the Yakima Chief sensory testing program. How they test their beer and the flavors in the beer. How to differentiate the flavors and how they do blind testing. And how to smell the differences and even the off flavors. The flavors that shouldn't be in the beer. We really learned a lot that day of the techniques that they use and the different ways they smell the beer and taste the beer. But bam, the best part of the whole sensory evaluation part of the course. And next, I enjoyed their hops, aroma, sensory, blind testing area. Yes, everyone gets their own little cubby. They have these red lights so you can't even see the color of the hops. And they pass the hop sample through these little doors so you can't even see the person's hand. And it really reminded me of one of them like weird peep booth places. Well, as far as I seen on TV once. My cousin told me how it was, I swear. No, but for real, it was really cool and really fun to see how they do it. And as we were leaving, whoa, it was Stickerland. Who else is in the house? Again, ba-bam, Hops Brazil. The next part of the course was really cool for me because it was a sensory evaluation of the actual hops. And we got some actual hop samples just as they are when they're taken fresh from the bale. And we learned how they do their sensory testing, how they record each individual lot. So this individual hops can be traced back to the field where it was picked. And the best part, the smelling of these fresh picked hops, just picked yesterday, Sabro. Wow, what a sensory overload. And then when we left there, we exited through the warehouse. Oh my gosh, I've never seen so many hops, pellets, fresh hops, cryo hops, every different kind of hops you've ever seen stacked in a cold warehouse. It was chilly, folks, but it was worth it. Is there a cot in there, you think, with a blanket where I could sleep? And next stop was the extract plant. Outside, they were doing a real neat artwork similar to the town of Topanish, if you saw my other video, where they put the hops farmers on the walls outside the buildings. This is another lab that I couldn't film very much of, but bam, they were really starting to kick. There's still a lot of room. They could definitely do over 100 oil samples at a time in this lab. Again, the most thorough, biggest, giant lab. Unfortunately, we couldn't show you much. It's all top secret. This, the extract plant and the cryo plant. But there's a few pictures here to get the idea. And I learned a lot. I definitely remember. I took some notes for the future. It was really thorough, enjoying, and to see the scale of things, like just a little bit of extract here, folks. I want to say that. It was really interesting. And check this out, 23-year-old extract. This still is within the normal specs of extract. So the advantage, another advantage besides the size, the weight, is how long you can keep it. And yes, the cryo hops plant. Wow, that was really cool. I wish I could have took some film while I was in there and some pictures. It was really a learning experience. But one thing I did picture here is the cleanliness the food gradeness, the quality and cleanness of this place. I was really amazed. And at the end, the last day, we had another day of courses. We learned about the brands from the hops breeding company, Yakima Chief. We learned more about aromas, and bam, more beer and more sensory testing, of course. Wow, by far the best day for me of the 4 days at Yakima Chief was the day we visited the hops farms. And the first stop was Double R Hops Ranch since 1945. And leading the way was Jessica Rail. She's 5th generation hops farmer, and she explained and introduced us to the farm. But behind her, I didn't realize, was standing her father, Kevin Rail, and he came running over to me and said, "Hey, Max, welcome to my farm." I couldn't believe it. He recognized me from the YouTube channel here. Wow, I was humbled. And boy, was I humbled when I entered their facility. Look at this place, folks. How about vertical pickers? They pick 9,000 plants per hour, and 2 of them. Oh my word. You talk about scale, you talk about giant, and you talk about cleanliness. Wow, I was amazed how beautiful, how cleanly, the quality, everything in this place was amazing. These giant football field sized beds of hops being automatically filled to be dried. The theory here on this hops farm, once the hops get hung on the picker, they're not touched by human hands anymore until they're baled. The only thing they do is they clean a few leaves, and they make 0 leaves, 0 stems, 0 seeds in their hops. The quality is apparent, and Kevin explains it very well.
The only facility in the United States that uses automatic conditioning bins like this.
Yeah, these giant bins separate the hops, and when they get done in the bin, they automatically get fed straight to the baler, where they're untouched from the time they're hung on the picker till they're baled. Hops are a food product. Treat them that way. Thanks a lot, Jessica and Kevin. I definitely will return to your farm and spend more time in the future. Cheers to hops. Cheers to Double R Ranch. So back on the bus and off to Gasoline Ranches, where they grow hops and grapes. They have a picker that has what's called a Pro front end, but we'll leave that for later. And we'll let you just hear the sounds of the processing center of a hops farm. Finally to the hops rehydration room and their balers. Thank you, Gasoline Ranches. Hopefully I'll be back. But the highlight of our tours was definitely my stop at Pro Farms.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jeff Burrell. I'm the VP of Resources and Compliance here at Pro Farms.
Yeah, so we got a tour from one of the owners of their brand new processing center. This is what they call a Pro front end. It's their own design where the truck just backs in and dumps the hops on a huge wide conveyor. Then they have this 10-foot type of chainsaw that cuts the hops into 10-inch lengths. And from there, it goes on to the separation. They have a really cool separation system where they use anti-reverse air. They actually sucks upward all the leaves. I haven't seen this anywhere else on any farm, but man, it does a nice job. And the hops get conveyored out of the building over to the drying room, where again they have these 3-foot beds of hops. And we got to go underneath the floor of one of these drying rooms. If you don't know, the floor is full of these grates, and they have big vents down underneath, almost like a first story or a basement. It really blows a lot of heat and air, all equally blown up through the floor. And you talk about blowers, how about like 4 million megawatts or something crazy? Don't quote me on that number. Okay, trivia question. What are these? Put a note in the comments if you know what these are. It's a little hint here of this machine. Okay, might help you figure out what those were. So, after drying, there's conveyors that send the hops all the way over to another reconditioning room. And you talk about a hops drop, this is the place, baby. I really enjoyed myself here. The smells, the aromas. Oh my gosh, my eyes were watering watching these mountains of hops get dropped. And then they get pushed around by these little machines into this central underground conveyor, eventually conveyed up to their balers. Unfortunately, they only bale at night, so we didn't get to see them baling. But it's okay to see all these hops dropping out of the sky into this giant mountain. Oh my gosh, had to take a hop shower while I was there. So then it was lunchtime, so we went to their tap room and had a quick lunch. Had to have some hops water while I was there. They also had some good beer on tap, of course. But they had some cool decorations, old and new equipment. Check out this old humidity tester. And another trivia question. What the heck is this savage looking thing? Write a note in the comments, folks. But after lunch was my highlight, for sure.
But every plant is different, and what we'll do as breeders is we'll go through and we'll walk and look at every plant. And we can make a quick visual assessment of what we think of that plant. And we're going to look for things like cone type. We're going to look for how well those cones are distributed along the plant. We're going to look for the robustness of the plant. So over time you get a pretty good eye for what's a high yielding plant and what's not.
And for those of you that don't know, Jason is the CEO of Pro Farms, and he's also the CEO of the Hops Breeding Company. And his name is on the patents of such varieties like Citra, Mosaic, and many of the newer best varieties in the world. What a pleasure it was to be able to walk around the hops breeding yard with Jason Pro himself, one of my hops heroes. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Jason, for the visit to your farm. I hope to return sometime soon. Cheers to hops. Cheers to Pro Farms. Well, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. So we had our graduation party Friday afternoon at Outskirts Brewery. What more can I say but beer me? Well, there it is, folks. Again, I highly recommend a 4-day immersion if you want to get access to some of the biggest farms in Yakima, which is impossible. Realize for 6 weeks, these farms don't stop. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the busiest time of year. So if you think you're just going to show up in Yakima and knock on our door and say, hey, I want to visit, I want to get a tour of your farm, it's not going to happen. But the Yakima Chief Hops and Beer School, we visited 3 farms, got the full tour of their whole processing center. Besides all of the Yakima Chief Processing Center and all of the wonderful palestras, speakers, New Zealand hops, aroma courses, hands-on, and of course a lot of good beer. Okay? One of the best parts about the trip, of course, and the school, at 9 o'clock in the morning, at lunchtime, in the evening, didn't matter. We were typically drinking some good beer. Well, what do you think? Well, before I go, I want to explain what exactly was included in the fees that were involved in the Yakima Chief Hops and Beer School. But before I do that, I want to explain that I was not sponsored in any way by Yakima Chief, by anyone. I paid for my own flight, my own hotel, and my own entrance into the beer school, okay? But listen, next year, if Yakima Chief wants to fly me out first class, put me up at a 5-star hotel and pay the entrance fees, I'll be glad to come back. Then we can make a really cool video, or maybe a few, okay? So what was included and what were the fees? It was actually a 3-day course. It costed $325, which included 2 days of classroom type or conference type courses with excellent speakers, and 1 day when we went and visited the hops farms. But there is an optional first day, which was $75 extra to visit their labs and their infrastructure, which I highly recommend. For the $75, if you're going all the way out to Yakima, you might as well spend the extra day and a little bit of extra money. So besides the 2 days of the classes and the 1 day of the hops tour, if you add the other day, you get the 1 day also of all the labs and all the tours. Also included is a bus pickup and drop off right at your hotel. It actually drops off at 4 main hotels in town. The town's very small, so it's really easy to get to one of these drop off points if you're not at one of these hotels. Fortunately, I was at the Hilton, and that was one of the drop off points. Besides that, the bus also takes you to all the labs, all the farms, and even the breweries that we went to. For example, on graduation day, it was very, very well organized, I must say. The bus system, the planning, the schedules. They ran a few buses, came by at different times in the morning in case you were running a little late. Thumbs up for the buses, the drivers, and the workers. Now, other than that, what was included when we arrived? Well, we got our name tag, of course, and we got a small backpack with some hops merch, a couple hats, some stickers, a few notepads, and even some sunblock. And then other than that, you did get breakfast and lunch included. They did serve a nice hot breakfast with eggs, bacon, sausage. 1 day they even had biscuits and gravy. So coffee and juice, of course. The breakfast was actually better than the breakfast in my hotel. Lunch was a boxed lunch. You know, we were on the road a lot, so I get it. A simple sandwich with some chips. The buses always had some snacks and water available, Gatorade also available. And of course, the main thing that we got for free, at least at the latest, was lunchtime and in the afternoon, but sometime even in the morning, was free beer. Lots of beer, folks. You can't forget that part. All the beer you want to drink was pretty much for free. And the last thing that I got for free with this tour, included in the price, was knowledge. Priceless knowledge of everything I learned and everything I saw. And the experience is really breathtaking and overwhelming. Again, 2 thumbs up for the Yakima Chief Hops and Beer School. So, again, thumbs up if you liked. Subscribe to our channel, hit them notifications. Next week, we're gonna have another video in Yakima about my visit to one of the farms. So don't miss that. Appreciate it, folks. Cheers to hops, cheers to life.